I am speechless. Previously on Haley Wanders. This is my first time at Grand Teton National Park. We started out by relaxing and reading after a long day of travel and spent day 2 hiking around the iconic Jenny Lake Loop. If you missed part 1, be sure to click the link in the upper right hand corner. Here in part 2, we're going to be visiting some iconic spots both in and outside of the park, so be sure to stay tuned. Let's get into it. Say good morning. Good morning. This is Schwabacher Landing, and today it's a little bit cloudy, but normally with this beautiful reflection off of this just still water makes it look like glass, and the Tetons right above, which obviously you cannot see right now. They're peeking out a little bit, but not a whole lot. Usually this is a very, very, very picturesque place, and unfortunately it's just a little bit cloudy this morning, but I kind of have a feeling that it might clear up later today. I don't know if we'll come back, but it's just so serene. I really was walking out here and I felt like Snow White was going to come out of the trees and start singing. The reason that this water is so still is because there's several beaver dams along the way that are just naturally made. The plan for today is eat breakfast, which we've already done, come to Schwabacher Landing, which we are at now. And then we are going to go back to camp, get ready to go to Jackson. We're going to explore around Jackson, the city, Jackson Hole for a little while today, and then just kind of hang out and hopefully the weather clears up. That almost 10-mile hike yesterday really did a number on my shins and everybody else's, so we're kind of wiped from that, but should be a good day. Let's see if we can get so many more good pictures of this. I just wanted to take a second at this moment to say, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're liking this content or you just like my personality, go ahead and subscribe. I mean, who's stopping you? Not me. They are peeking out a little bit more now. Oh, it's so pretty. I'm just on my way back to the car, but I'm never gonna get tired of this view. Probably ever. Anyway, I'm gonna get back so we can get the rest of the day moving. We took the scenic route down to Jackson Hole, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. This entire time I was just thinking, are we in Switzerland? Once we got to Jackson Hole, our first mission was to ride the gondola up to the top of Rendezvous Mountain. The gondola generally opens the first week of June and closes the first week of September. This is on the pricier side of activities to do in Jackson Hole, starting at around $45 per person. Another option that is cheaper but takes much more time is actually hiking up the mountain. I'm not 100% sure if you can make it all the way to the top hiking, but there were many people hiking the trails at the lower ends of the mountain. It takes about 12 minutes to ride up to the top of Rendezvous Mountain via this gondola, and what I found most impressive was the sweeping views that you have of Jackson Hole the entire time you are riding up, and especially at the top. As you rise in elevation, you can begin to see the scenery change from bright greens to rocks and much more snow, as well as less plants in general. This was very cool to me because it's such a short ride, but changes so dramatically because of how far you are rising up onto the mountain. Every single time we would go over one of these joints, the entire carriage would swing back and forth a little bit, and honestly, it was making me a little bit nauseous. But I do have to say that the views were worth it. After what seemed like a long time in the air to me, we finally were able to see this view on solid ground. Or at least semi-solid. There were some holes down in those grates, but I felt safe and secure, and just look at this view. I'm kind of afraid of heights, so that was an interesting ride for me. Just look at this. This is the top of Rendezvous Mountain, which I would never ski because I would die. The gondola system is operated on 4.85 miles of thick steel cables, which is why it's no surprise that it took $31 million to build this thing, as well as 2 pulley systems at the top and bottom. Again, these are humongous. The cables in the middle are held up by 5 ski towers, and this is the longest ski lift in the United States. Another really interesting thing about this place is that at the top of this mountain there is a place called Corbett's Cabin where you can get world famous waffles as well as try some drinks. I went for something fruity.
Will that be it for you?
Yep. So once you get to the top of Renegade Mountain, first they have waffles and drinks. So I've got myself a apple cider with huckleberry vodka, and I just spilled it on myself a little bit. Good thing I'm wearing waterproof pants. And then you can hike a little bit further up. I thought it would be a little bit colder, but it's really not. So I'd say we're having a good time. This is the highest tram in the US at 10,450 feet, but this is absolutely gorgeous. If you didn't know this existed, definitely leave a comment down below because I had no idea that this was a thing. I didn't even book this, I didn't look it up, I was just going along for the ride, and here we are. It kind of reminds me of what Vail, Colorado is supposed to be like. I've never been there, so if anybody's wanting to go to Vail, I will certainly go with you. Because if it's anything compared to this, I'm in. The Jackson Hole Ski Resort has much more to offer than just the gondola ride up to the top of Rendezvous Mountain, and we were able to actually witness a 12-year-old girl going on her first ever paragliding adventure. This is something that the resort itself does offer with certified licensed instructors and flyers, as well as offering a via ferrata. And if you don't know what that is, I'm gonna insert some footage here because it's absolutely insane, and now that I know there is one there, I really want to do it.
The Via Ferrata, I would say, is for anybody who has ever had in the back of their mind the dream of going climbing but never thought they could. People who are adventurous, who look up at the Tetons and go, wow, I wonder what it would be like to climb up there. It's perfect because you take the gondola up and it's a quick walk over to the base of the climbing, and you'll get a chance to really sample mountaineering in a way that's unintimidating, but definitely very connected to the landscape.
I will link this video below for anyone who is interested in looking more into this because it is a bucket list item. And from up here, you can see the Jackson Hole Airport right there. So when I'm taking off, I'm going to be waving goodbye to the tram. And after having some waffles and drinks, it was time to head back down the mountain. The pass that we paid for today included all of the gondolas that we wanted to ride, so we headed over to the Bridger gondola next. These cabins were much smaller than the big one that we were on just previous to this, but it had open air windows and it smelled really nice with that fresh air. At the top of the Bridger gondola there is a restaurant, but it wasn't open when we were there and we could see a storm rolling in, so we decided to head right back down the mountain and make our way into the town of Jackson Hole. This little town has that unique Western culture where you are just feeling like you're immersed in a cowboy movie. And that's exactly why people come here. And of course, no video about Jackson Hole, Wyoming would be complete without mentioning the famous elk antler arches. There are 4 of these arches on each corner of the town square. Each of these arches contains about 10,000 to 12,000 pounds of antlers. 1,000 to 2,000 of which were collected by the Jackson Hole Boy Scouts. There was originally only 1 arch, but as it became more popular, the town decided to create all 4. And the arches that stand today will be there until around 2040. Mountain towns like this are probably one of the best places to find leather goods, but I was more interested in the things that I could take home with me and use every day, which is coffee. Every time I go somewhere, I make sure to get a coffee or coffee grounds from somewhere that remind me of the place, and let me tell you what, I have been drinking this Teton blend for a few days and I am so impressed. It is amazing. We went to Hand Fire Pizza for dinner, which was a perfect option because it offered so much food. I got the Pesto G and it was the best pesto pizza I have ever had. Would definitely recommend going there and getting some leftovers for at home. After dinner, it was time to head back to camp to take the dogs for a walk and relax a little bit. The original plan was to actually relax, and then we looked up at the sky, saw that there was no clouds, and decided that we were going back to Schwabacher Landing. And good thing we did, because this is the view that we were rewarded with. At this time, we realized that it was going to be almost perfect timing for sunset as we were driving back, where we have to pass Mormon Road anyway, so we decided to stop and try to get some good pictures of these barns that are just iconic, and we were absolutely blown away. There were some rain clouds forming in the distance behind us, but because of the sunlight, it created this absolutely beautiful pink cloud that I just kept staring at instead of the barn. As the sky lit up pink and we headed back to camp, I couldn't think of a better way to end day 3. Day 4 started by getting on the road and heading to our new destination of Coulter Bay Campground, but before we got there, we decided to make a few pit stops, starting with the visitor center. The main visitor center, located in the south end of the park, is humongous and offers a wide variety of things for you to see and learn. As you walk through the different displays, you will learn about the history of the people who settled the Grand Tetons, as well as the history of the plant and animal life that has been here for thousands of years and continues to this day. Now that I have my National Parks passport, I'm going to remind you, don't forget to get your stamp when you come to this visitor center. I think the designers of this visitor center did a really good job of making it interactive and fun to learn, as well as highlighting some of the art pieces that have come out of being inspired by the Grand Tetons. Next up was to send a postcard to my mom, of course, from none other than the Moose, Wyoming post office. It takes about an hour to get up to the Colter Bay Campground, but as you can see here as we're passing Jenny Lake, it gets really crowded really early, so make sure that you are getting there early if you are trying to hike the Jenny Lake Loop like we did in day 2. We are now at Coulter Bay Campground, where we are going to be finishing out at least my stay here. They have still 3 more days here, but I'm going to be heading out tomorrow on the plane. This morning we got packed up and stopped by the visitor center, which was awesome, and then drove the rest of the way up here. And now we're only going to do 2 short hikes, have dinner tonight, and then just kind of hang out before I leave. I honestly had no idea how to help them set up, so I ended up reading most of this time, and I got a big chunk of my book done. After escaping the alternate reality that I was in my book, we headed down to the Coulter Bay Lakeshore Trail for a short walk. So we are going to take a different route to get to this trail, because apparently there is a bear that has been charging people in the area, so we need to go around. Well, they weren't kidding when they said Lakeshore View. This trail was easy to access and generally really beautiful, aside from the fact that the ranger in the beginning did tell us there is a mama bear out with 3 cubs who has been seen charging people, so definitely staying clear of that on this trail. So this is the area we're coming up on that is closed. You can see on this map, and all trails what we've done so far, so we're just gonna head back. And hopefully the bears are safe and keep all the people safe. After coming back from our hike, it did start raining, and so we decided to just hang out, have pancakes, and rest up for the night. Like any good ending, my last day in the Grand Teton National Park started with some organization, eating, and, of course, playing with the puppies.
I'm sorry, Tess. I'm sorry.
After getting an earload from Tessa, we headed out to hike my childhood fantasy, Swan Lake. While this hike was relatively easy and beautiful, I was not expecting this many mosquitoes. So just beware when you are going on this hike, there's going to be a lot of bugs and a pretty steep incline at the beginning, but other than that, it is all beautiful. And this hike is actually so close to the campground that we ended up walking from our actual campsite all the way to this hike, around the hike, and back. And of course, on the way back, we stopped to get coffee. I ended my trip by celebrating with a huckleberry latte and getting packed up and headed back to the airport. And on the way back, all I could think was of how beautiful this place was and how lucky I was to be able to experience it. Okay, we are ending this vlog with a little bit of chaos. Some travel delays has caused me to now have to change my flight back home, but after some deliberation with a very helpful lady at the check-in desk, I was able to get on a flight and make it back home tonight because I do have to be at work tomorrow. But I will have a nice view for the next 2 hours that I am waiting until I get on my plane, the first of 2. It's definitely always a little bit stressful when maybe flight plans don't go according to plan, but all is working out in the end. So I'm gonna hang out here, do some work, try to not stress about it, definitely read some more, and get started editing this video. As always, thank you guys for watching this video. If it was helpful to you, make sure to give it a like, and if you like this kind of content, make sure to hit subscribe and the little notification bell next to it, and then you'll get notified every time I post a new video. I don't think this will be the last time that I visit Grand Tetons National Park, so if you have any recommendations for my future visits to the park, make sure to drop that down below in a comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.